Do you have a child that struggles to pronounce the S sound? Well, in this video, I'm going to be showing you some common steps that SLPs use to teach children how to pronounce an S sound. Hi everyone, welcome to My Own SLP. I'm Rachel and I'm a licensed speech-language pathologist, and I create videos with step-by-step strategies showing parents and caregivers how you can help your child increase their speech skills at home. I have a video that comes out every Tuesday and on Thursday showing you different strategies for all of the different speech sounds, as well as ideas and activities for how you can make the process fun and engaging for both you and your child. Be sure to hit subscribe so that you're sure to see each of my videos as I show you step by step how to work on your child's articulation skills at home, helping your child to increase their confidence as well as their ability to communicate with others. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the very first step when helping our children learn how to do the S sound, and that is learning how to make the S in isolation, or in other words, learning how to make the S just the sound on its own. So two important things to know is that there's two common mistakes we usually see when children are mispronouncing the S sound. One is the frontal lisp. This is one of the most common errors that we see, where the tongue protrudes past their teeth and you get a lisp. So you get thun instead of sun. The second mistake we commonly see is the lateral lisp, or also known as a slushy S. And this is when the air is coming out the sides of the mouth and you get kind of a slushy sound. And it could sound like shun for sun. When producing an S, we'll walk through and I'll show you how the correct production of S is to get the airflow right through the center of the mouth. So when you get a slushy S, the air is coming out the side. With the lateral lisp, or the slushy S, that is a more difficult sound to remediate, so it's most commonly recommended that an SLP work with your child on that type of air, but I will release a video for you if you want to practice that at home as well. In this video, I will be walking you through different steps that you can use to practice correcting the frontal lisp with your child. One major thing to note is that I will be using the T sound to help get your child's tongue in the right placement to make the S sound. So if your child struggles to make the T sound at all, then you want to start with practicing the T. You don't want to jump into working on S yet. If you have any questions as far as what sounds you should start on, then check out my speech sound development chart so that you can see at what age each of these sounds is typically mastered, and that will help give you an idea of what order you can work on sounds, so that you are starting with beginning developing sounds instead of jumping ahead to a later developing sound like the S. So first I'll be talking to you about the placement of the tongue when making an S. So this is very crucial to help our kids learn how to produce a correct S. And where the tongue is at is the tongue tip is up and behind our front teeth, and we do a sound. And I use a T sound to help them get their tongue in the right place. And this is because if you make a T, and then an S, you'll notice that the tongue is in a similar place in the mouth when making those two sounds. So I will go through and show you some common steps that can be used to teach an S, and then I will give you examples of what it looks like to do that with your child. So the first steps are the steps that I would teach a child to get their tongue in the correct place. So the first step would be to get the tongue tip up and behind the top front teeth. Second step is to have them close their teeth. And sometimes with younger kids, I'll also cue them to close their teeth, or I tell them to keep the gate closed. And if your child is giving you more of a sound, even though they've got their teeth closed, then the third step sometimes I will use is tell them to smile. So instead of smile. So tongue tip up, teeth closed, and a gentle smile. Next are some common steps that can be used to learn the S sound. One is to have your child practice the T sound. and just have them do that over and over. T, t. The second step, I like to have them do the T in spurts of 3. So I'll go t, 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 and I'll have them practice that several times. T, t, t. Now the third step is to do the T in spurts of 3, but then on the last one, you're going to hold it out and it's going to naturally transition into an S sound. So it's going to look something like this. T, t, tss, t, t, tss. Then for the fourth step, I'm going to have them do the spurts of 3, holding out the S, but then I'm going to have a pause after that and then try and get them to do a S on its own. So it's going to look something like this. Tss, 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 tss. So again, tss, 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 tss. So for that step, what they're doing is they're using the T to transition into an S, and then you have that pause, which will then help them to start generating an S on its own. Then for the final step, once they can do the pause and then get an S correctly after that, then you're going to have them practice doing the S completely on its own. Now, something that's important to note is the tongue is a muscle. So just like any other muscle in our body, when we are trying to learn a new skill and we're trying to build muscle memory, you have to do that action over and over so that pretty soon that action becomes automatic and you don't have to think about it. And so for our kids, especially if they're a little bit older and they have been producing that lisp for a long time, the tongue has created that muscle memory and their body has learned that, okay, when there's a word with the S in it, my tongue is naturally just going to do a th. So we have to retrain the tongue and we have to create that new muscle memory to do a correct s. So if you think of it in regards to a child wanting to play basketball on the high school varsity team, in order to be able to make a 3-point shot under pressure, they have to have spent hours and hours practicing shooting the ball, because you need that movement of being able to hold the ball and shoot. You need that to be automatic so that when they're in a game and under pressure, they don't have to pause and think about what the different steps are to hold the ball correctly and to follow through and shoot the ball. That needs to be automatic where they just do it. Keep that in mind as you're working on any speech sound with your child. We are creating new muscle memory, and this has to be done in baby steps. We have to go step by step. And so just remember, if you're practicing this sound and you notice that your child says something incorrectly during conversation, think back and say, wait. Like, what point are we at? Can they even make the sound on its own? Or am I expecting them to do it at the highest level, just like with that basketball game? Am I expecting them to be able to shoot a 3-point shot under pressure? Or do I need to go way back and teach them the very basics of how to shoot or how to use that sound? Some other steps during this process that are really important to know is how to model or how to coach our kids through making the sound. And so I'm going to go through those with you so that while you're practicing the different steps for how to produce an S, you will know the different steps for how to model for your child so that you can gradually give them less and less modeling so that they start to do it on their own. Next, I want to talk about the levels of modeling or cueing that we do when helping our kids learn the different sounds, because we want to start at the maximum level of support for our children, and then we want to start to scale back until they are saying a sound on its own. So I'll go through and I'll tell you the different levels, and then I will show you how to incorporate those. So the different levels for modeling for your child. The first one would be modeling for your child. So in this one, you are just doing the sound on its own. You are showing them. The child isn't expected to say or do anything. They are just watching you. Have your child sit across from you so that they can see your mouth, and you're just going to model for them. So when you're practicing each of those steps for the T, you'll start by having your child just watch you. So first, t, and then a t, t, t. The next step would be having your child do it with you. So you're doing it at the same time while you model it and they're watching you. You'll say, okay, do it with me. T. Let's do it again together. T. The next step would be having them repeat it after you. So you will model it, pause and then have them do it. And the final step would be having your child do it all on their own. If you want to, you can maybe do just a silent cue. So you might say, okay, now you do it. So see how I'm modeling it, but I'm not saying anything. They're not hearing me do anything, but I'm modeling it while they try and say it. And then you can fade that eventually to where you just tell them, okay, what sound does this make? And have them do it. Now that we've talked about all the different steps and the types of cues that we use and the levels of modeling, now I'm going to go through and demonstrate for you what that might look like when you are teaching the S sound with your child. Okay, we're going to practice our sound today, and remember to have your tongue up behind your front teeth, teeth closed, and smile. Okay, we're going to practice the T sound. Watch me. T. I'm going to do it again. T. Okay, now do it with me. T. T. Let's do it again. Do it with me. T. T. All right, we're going to do it again. I'm going to do it, then you do it. Here we go. T. T. Okay, now you do it. Give me the T sound. Okay, then moving on to the next step. We're going to do the T sound, but we're going to do it like this. T, T, T. I'll do it. T, T, T. Watch me. T, T, T. Okay, now do it with me. T, T, T. Let's do it again. T, T, T. Okay, now this time, what we're going to do is we're going to do the T, 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 but then at the end, we're going to make it long. We're going to hold it out, just like this. Watch me. See how I made it long and I held it out? That's a hand cue that I like to do because, again, when we're producing a correct S sound, the airflow is coming out the middle of the mouth. And so I will go like that. It kind of cues the child to almost like pull that sound out, or I'll refer to it as like pulling out a string, like that, out the middle and front. So if you want to try that, you can use that cue. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to do the and then we'll pause and then just do the end sound. So it's going to look like this. Just watch me. Okay, now let's just practice the sound. Do it with me. Okay, I'll do it, then you do it. Okay, now you do it. What sound does this make? Okay, so again, going back to the concept of building muscle memory. So you can also think of it as starting with the simplest step. We're building steps. And so we start out at the very basic level and we build up from there. If at any point you are trying one of these steps and your child is reverting back to the th or making any type of mistake, then try and go back down a step. One last technique that I like to use is if your child is having a really hard time keeping their tongue back and it keeps sneaking past their teeth and you're getting that sound, then pull out a handheld mirror, and I like to hold it next to me so that they can still see me and have me model for them how to make the sound, but then they have that visual feedback right there where they can see themselves in the mirror to see if they're keeping their teeth closed or not, so they can consistently look back and forth between watching me model it and looking in the mirror to see if they're keeping their teeth closed. So try that technique and see if that helps. And one last little note, one thing that's great about being able to work on sounds at home as opposed to me being an SLP where I only have your kids for about 30 to 45 minutes at a time and I'm trying to cram in as much work as I can in that short amount of time. For you have your child for a good chunk of the day, if not the whole day. And so you can find little bits of time throughout the day. You don't have to sit down and do this with them. It can be in passing. And one thing that I will do once they're getting a good, comfortable S sound is I might pretend to play the drums and do tss, 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 if you're still using the T. Tss, tss, tss. So you might be walking by him and say, hey, let's do your sound. And you might do it 2 or 3 times. That's less than a minute. And then just do that several times throughout the day, or a handful of times, because little consistent repetitions every single day is so much more beneficial than just a couple times a week sitting down for long periods of time. So try and do that with your child, and I know that you'll notice a difference. So in this video, we finished talking about how to practice S in isolation on its own. Remember to practice that, and even if you feel like your child has got it down, keep practicing for several more days to really solidify that muscle memory. And once you're feeling pretty confident with your child's ability to do the sound on its own, then you can move on to doing the sound in syllables and words. So look for that video where I show you how to practice S at the syllable and the words level. All right, I hope some of the strategies in that video are ones that your child specifically needs right now as you are striving to help your child increase their articulation skills. Let me know in the comments down below what was helpful, or if you have any questions. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you can see each of those videos coming out twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday, showing you all the various strategies for working on different speech sounds, as well as making this process fun and engaging. Now, I hope that you will go share your goodness with someone today, and I will see you in the next one.